Welcome to the MetaWare Debugger training. This is MDB Session 6, where we'll show how to examine local and global variables and the function call stack. In this session, we'll show you how to use the local variables and global variables windows to view and modify local and global variables. We'll also show how to use the function call stack window. After launching a debug session, if you have the default window layout, the local variables window is already open in the top left. If you need to reopen this window, you can find it in the display menu as follows. The local variables window displays a list of all in-scope variables for the current function. It also displays any globals which are in the current source file. Any arrays that you see can be expanded by using the plus sign next to the variable, allowing you to see each element. Variables are listed in the order that they appear in the source, but can instead be sorted alphabetically by pressing the sort button. You can also toggle the display of the type of each variable using the T button. The Ampersand button shows you the address of each variable in memory. You can edit variable values by selecting the variable and pressing the Change button, or by right-clicking and selecting Change. Enter a new value and press Enter to modify it. Sometimes you will see Not Available next to a variable name. This means that a variable is not in scope at the current program counter. It will usually come into scope when it's used in the code. As you can see, the variable j is now visible in the local variables window. You might also see Optimized Away next to a variable name. This means that the compiler's optimizer was able to eliminate this variable when it built the code, and thus it cannot display a value for this variable. If you want to ensure that no variables are optimized away for most efficient debugging, use a low optimization setting when you build your code. Let's now look at global variables. You can open this window from the display menu as follows. This window is very similar in appearance to the local variables window, except that it shows all global variables in the ELF file, including those from the runtime libraries. The ampersand, T, and sort buttons function exactly as they did with the local variables. The All button controls whether you want to show all globals or only those from modules with debug information. You can also change the variables in exactly the same way. Since there can be many global variables, you can use the name field to filter the display. Wildcards are permitted in this case. Enter an expression, for example, SI star, and press Enter. Here it will show us all the globals that start with SI. If you want to restore the display to see all variables, simply delete the characters in the field and press Enter. Let's now look at the call stack display. This is open by default in the standard window layout but is also available from the display menu. This window shows the stack of function calls in the application. The current function is always at the top of the display. The display grows up as more functions are called, as you can see here when we step into the recursive function try. You can click on different levels of the call stack, and this will update the locals, source, and registers windows. For example, in the source window, you can see the purple program counter arrow. This shows you the location that execution will return to once try returns, in this case back to main. The local variables window at a given level will show you the values of the locals as they were when the function call was made. This feature of the call stack window is useful when you want to track exactly how you arrived into a particular function and where you left off in the calling function, as well as the system state at each function level. The debugger techniques discussed in this presentation are covered in detail in the Designware Metaware Debugger User's Guide for ARC supplied with the Metaware toolset. In particular, please see section 3.7.1, Working with Global Variables, 3.7.2, Working with Local Variables, and section 3.7.5, Viewing the Function Call Stack.